Hello everyone, your Photoson here. I hope you all had a really fun Halloween. I know it's a little bit past that point now, it's just kind of the way things have timed out, but I did want to do a little episode about some Halloween characters of mine that are in my canon. I thought, why not talk about them? This is the first year that I felt like they've kind of gotten a little bit of attention, or at least like a positive response. I noticed, especially on Patreon with my Patreon followers, several people seemed to really like Kamas, who's a character I made a couple years ago, and she made a return appearance for my Halloween picks this year. And I don't think it'll come out before this episode does, but there is a character ask involving her that's going to come out in the sometime this month in the near future. And I was thrilled that people were excited to see her. And the new character this month, who was Noemi, the zombie Frankenstein girl. So I thought, let's talk about these characters. I've talked about them some in the text that accompanies my posts year after year, but I know most people probably don't go back and read stuff I posted like 4 or 5 years ago. So I'll just go over a little bit over who the characters are, where they came from, the thought process behind some of them, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. So the Lillian's Spooky Gals line, which is just a name I came up with off the top of my head when I set up the new nearhente.com, because I was putting, there's now categories on the new site, and I was putting everything into categories, and those pictures had just been tagged Halloween and the names of the characters before, but I wanted a category specifically for that set of characters, so I just came up with Lillian's Spooky Gals off the top of my head, off of the main central character, a central figure from that group, which is Lillian Larange, who is actually the oldest original character of mine on the site. I like to put Syed Wildstar up as like the mascot character because she's like the oldest Hente character, but Lillian predates me doing Hente work at all. Like, I'd probably drawn a dirty pic or two at the time that I made Lillian, but I was not doing it online, and I wasn't doing it like regularly. My drawings were mostly PG or PG-13 at worst at the time that I created Lillian, because I was in high school and I had a DeviantArt account that I was updating a lot, and for Halloween in I think it was 2006, I wanted to do a little fun Halloween picture, and I had it in my head that I wanted to do a character that would fit in with the goth characters in the Teen Titans cartoon, of which there are 3 that I can think of, Raven, Argent, and Jinx. Basically, I wanted a character who had like some kind of interesting hair color and also gray skin. Like, that was really the whole thought process that went into her. It was just like a character that would have fit in with those 3 Teen Titans characters. And so I made Lillian Larange, who had gray skin, of course, and these like bright orangish, reddish, yellowish eyes, like kind of fire-colored eyes, and she had black hair with orange bangs in the front, which is where the orange in Larange comes from. And I think I think there was a little bit of wanting her name to have a similar ring to it as Alex DeLarge from A Clockwork Orange. Like, that was tied in there too. All this orange stuff, just because she was a character I made up for Halloween, and orange is the Halloween color. Like, there's other colors that you can associate with it, but I think orange is kind of the quintessential Halloween color because of the fall colors and the pumpkins and all of that. So yeah, and that was it. She had no backstory, no character. Over the years since then, I tried to bring her back a little bit in some of my writing, because I was still trying to be like a writer, and my writing was not erotic. It wasn't anything like the stuff I post on my site. But I had her as the lackey character for a villain in a series of stories I was working on that was going to be based on like some kind of high school environment. I honestly don't remember it that much. I remember the guy she worked for flew around on a glider, kind of like the Green Goblin, and I don't remember a whole lot about it besides that. But she was going to be like a magic user who like helped him and was the the sassy, charismatic sidekick to the villain, and like stuff like that. Every now and then I would try to work her into something, but nothing that really got very far. Like, I don't think I ever wrote a single paragraph of that story. It was all just planning, and so nothing got too far. And then a few years later, I'm trying to remember, I think the first year I did a Halloween pick for Near Hente back on the Blogspot site was in 2014. So on Halloween, or like right after Halloween, somewhere around there, I posted a picture of her and this little witch character. I wanted to do a Yuri pick because I think I've talked before about I really like Yuri. I think it's super cute, and I love pairing female characters up together. I would do it more, but typically the straight and yaoi content gets a better reception, so I don't do it as much as I would like to. But for the Halloween pick, I decided, you know what? It's original characters. At that time, I hadn't done very much with original characters. I had Aramugen, and I think that's it. But like, nobody's going to know who these characters are. Nobody's going to really care. So I'll just do what I want. So I did a pick of Lillian and Adeline Fortuna, who was a new character who's this witch. She's French. I don't know if I mentioned that anywhere on the site, but she's supposed to be French. The characters are supposed to come from all over the world. And I made them, and I decided at the time when I did that pick that I wanted to bring her back, bring both of them back, and I was like, you know what, I'll do a new pick every year and I'll just add a character to the mix. And at the time that didn't seem like a big deal because I wasn't uploading super frequently, like probably 4 or 5 picks a month. So like taking some time to work on a picture with several characters in it didn't seem like that big of a deal. I used to do it more than I do now. So a year passed, and when it got to be getting close to Halloween again, I was like, okay, I'll do a new pick. And I wanted to do, I was trying to think of a way to do like a cute skeleton girl, because I don't know why, I just thought that could work well. But I didn't want to do like just straight up full on skeleton, because I didn't think it would be sexy. Like, it would be funny and cute maybe, but I didn't think it would work. What I ended up settling on was doing a Dia de los Muertos thing, because I had I think I had just seen the Book of Life or something like that. I had seen something recently with Dia de los Muertos in it, and I liked the whole face paint element of that holiday, and I was like, you know what, this is a way to do kind of a skeleton, but not really. So like I made Sofia Huesos, and I think Huesos means bones or something. I don't speak Spanish. I will speak Spanish to people who speak it to me online because I use translators, but I don't actually speak it. So I'm going off memory here, but I think it means like bones or something like that. But I made her like thin. I made it so you can kind of see her rib cage, but also she has these Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead markings all over her like face and on her body and in different places. So I did a picture of her with Lillian and Adeline. And I think I made up some storyline. That was the time I started kind of coming up with a bit more backstory and characters for them. And the backstory for Lillian is that she's like this spirit of Halloween, or like this incarnation of Halloween spirit. So she's not a specific monster like the other girls. She's just kind of like this incarnation of spooky festivity. And my story basically in my head, it's not written anywhere or that I can recall, but like if I was going to tell their story, the story is like I made her and she existed like by herself in kind of in a void, I guess. Like I like to imagine her like just kind of coming out and doing her thing once a year around Halloween, just like bringing like Halloween mischief and trickiness, but like fun and like in a festive, happy way, not like a mischievous, or at least not like maliciously mischievous way. Just like a fun type of Halloween spirit that brings Halloween joy around the season. Whatever. Like a spooky little Santa girl. So she did that for a long time and got lonely basically and decided to start making new friends. And so she went and she made friends with Adeline, and now later she went and made friends with Sophia, who is herself a similar incarnation of a holiday, but hers is the Day of the Dead, of course. She's the embodiment of the holiday of Dia de los Muertos. That's the idea for Sophia's character. So another year passed, and around that time, I had become friends with Anya Loop, who's a model that I talk about a lot, I think. But she's a really good friend of mine. She's important, and she'd really liked the monster characters. I was showing them to her, and it was in, I think, August, probably, like around there. And I was getting ready to do the new pick with 4 characters. And around this time is when it was getting to be harder to find the time to work on a picture with a lot of characters in it. Because by this point I was uploading frequently. I don't know if it was every day yet, like it is now, but it was close. And I was a bit worried about making the pick, but through talking with Anya, I eventually came up with the character of Kamas Hathoitai. I don't know if that's pronounced right. I think I pulled that name from some like Egyptian pharaoh database or something. Like I pulled it from somewhere to get like an authentic sounding Egyptian last name. But Anya was talking to me about like, what about like a werewolf cat? And I kind of liked the idea, but I also wanted to do just a regular werewolf at some point, and I still haven't. But it got me thinking, and we were talking a bit more about like, how cats kind of relate to the Egyptian mythology, and I thought about the Mirage from the Aladdin television series, who's like this cat girl Egyptian priestess type character who's a villain in Aladdin. And I was like, I like that character a lot. I was wanting to draw her around that time. I still haven't, I don't think. But I thought, what if there was... I think Kamas' story is that she was this Egyptian princess or priestess or some kind of thing like that. I think princess is what I've said before, or some kind of Egyptian royalty. And through some kind of story, I don't think I have it fully fleshed out, but eventually she ends up cursed with this cat transformation that turns into a half cat, half person. And eventually she dies and she's mummified, and then she comes back to life centuries later as this like undead cat girl mummy. And that's the character kind of and this is the character that I think is the most successful with people, just based on reactions. I think she's the one people like the most, and she's also the one that's the hardest to draw, because I get caught up in trying to get the bandages on her the same every time, which is completely not important at all, but I still like try to get the bandages to match up every time, and I spend so much time drawing the bandages on her that it just makes her take a lot longer than normal. And also coloring the bandages takes a long time, just because of the way I color. But people like her, and that's what counts. And I was really excited, but that was the last pick I did where I was going to include everybody together. Because when the next year came around, I was ready to do a new Halloween pick, but I really didn't want to do a 5-character pick, because by that point, this was just last year, I was posting every day, and there was no way I would have time to keep up that pace and do a 5-character picture. I just couldn't imagine doing it, especially if one of those characters was Kamas, who, like I said, takes a long time to draw. So what I did instead was I introduced 2 new characters and just drew them together. And that was Michio and Yumi. Yumi actually being an old character from Aramugen, who I think I talked about in the Aramugen episodes of Near Talk as the character that I made for Aramugen but never got to come out. She was loosely based on Botan from the Yu Yu Hakusho, and like she had like a blue ponytail, but she was also based on a character from Gegege no Kitaro. I don't remember that character's name because it was from... I never saw the version of Gegege no Kitaro that she was in. I don't remember the character, but I remember coming across the character on Rule 34 back when I was first starting out Aramugen, and that was what spawned me wanting to do it, because that character is like I think she's like a snow yokai, but she had like light blue skin, and again the hair kind of like Botan was like a blue ponytail, and she wore this kimono, and I thought she was adorable. So like I kind of combined those characters to make Yumi, and then later when I brought her back, I made a couple more changes to make her match up better with the design I came up with for Michio, which was meant to be more like a kind of sexy take on like a ghost along the lines of like The Ring or The Grudge, or something like the long-haired Japanese ghost type. So I did a picture of those two together. Again, Anya was a big help and gave me the idea of doing a picture where they were like covered in cum, and then like the parts where the cum is sticking onto them are more visible than the rest of them. I ended up doing like 4 versions of that pic because I couldn't decide exactly how to do it, but it was all just different transparency effects. And yeah, I was happy with that pic. I did a follow-up pic later that I posted on the Day of the Dead, which I think is November 2nd. I looked it up at the time. I'm not great at this stuff, and I don't memorize it, but I think it was on November 2nd, on the actual holiday, that I posted a picture of Sophia, just her and an Anon dude. I think it's probably the first straight picture I've done for those characters. But yeah, so that was when things kind of changed. And Michio and Yumi don't have as fleshed out of a backstory as the other characters, but just like with Kamis and Sophia and Adeline, they just came into the fold because Lillian found them and brought them in to the little group. And they're all friends, even though I haven't drawn those two with any of the other characters. But they're friends. Well, we'll just say that they're friends. And then this year, it came time again, and my sister actually gave me the idea of doing a zombie picture, or a zombie girl. We went looking on Google Images for pictures of zombie girls, and I found a character from Monster Musume who was like a Frankenstein girl and had herself patched up and had slightly different skin tones to the different like skin patches, and I liked it, so I stole it. Basically, like I think Noemi looks a lot different from that character, and I don't remember that character's names, but she gave me the idea for Noemi, and I was really happy with how Noemi turned out. And I paired her up with Lillian. I guess you could argue that that's their first meeting in that picture that I released on Halloween, because they're in like I think I tried to make it look like they were in a graveyard or something like that. So that's where we are with those characters now, and I really like them, and I'm really happy that they're getting more attention. Though now I've got 2 characters that are a little bit difficult to draw, because Noemi, with her patchwork and everything, will be a little bit hard to keep consistent, because at the time it wasn't well planned out. It was I just did it on the fly, and recreating it exactly the same a year from now might be difficult. I don't know, but I want to do more pictures with them. It would be cool if somewhere down the line I could do like a little short comic about some of the characters or something, or do some more fleshing out with them. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about them. I just ran through the characters and just listed them, but you guys get the idea. So hopefully I'll get the chance to do something more substantial with them later, especially now that they're starting to get some fans, which I'm, again, super thrilled about. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our Mix and Match Challenge. So for those of you who don't know or haven't watched much of this show, the Mix and Match Challenge is a little game I play where I take 2 randomly selected characters from a list of names that I've constructed and try to figure out how I would put those characters together in a comic. And I don't have the characters picked out yet. I don't know who they are. We're going to do that right now. So first up, let's see. We've got number 46, which is Makoto Kino from Sailor Moon, also known as Sailor Jupiter. Probably my favorite Sailor Sky, or at least she was my favorite for a while. Mercury was my favorite when I was a kid. I liked Jupiter a lot more when I got older. Let's see. We're going to be pairing her up with number 68, Ibara Shiozaki from My Hero Academia. Oh, we got 2 My Hero Academia pairings in a row, because it was My Hero Academia with the Food Wars character last time. So, let's see here. How would we want to do this? Probably Well, the last time we had a My Hero Academia character, we did some kind of big crossover school event to bring the characters together from different schools. I don't think we would need to do that here. I think with both characters being heroes, we could probably do something with that. So, Ibara, or Shiozaki, I don't know which name is the proper one to use, but I'll just say Ibara. Or I think her hero name might be Vine. I don't know. But anyway, Ibara is a hero in training, but Makoto is an active superhero of sorts. Like the Sailor Senshi are basically superheroes. So let's say Makoto is just like walking home from school, and then there's some kind of big catastrophe. Some monster is doing something. We could pull a monster from Sailor Moon, just to keep it consistent. I don't know one off the top of my head that would be good, but we just pick one. And so she's by herself. The other Sailor Senshi aren't there, and she goes to confront her. And there's some civilians who are caught up in the crossfire. I don't think I mentioned it in this episode, but I write these comics under the assumption that the characters are in a shared universe, like the Exoverse, in my work. So she goes, and there's some civilians, and one of them is Ibara. So she notices Ibara stands out. Like, she doesn't look like a normal person. She's got the vine hair. So Makoto notices that she's got superpowers, because in Ibara's home setting, everyone has superpowers. But since this is like a crossover setting, not everyone is a superhero. But Makoto, maybe Makoto is fighting the monster and then is in a bit of trouble. But then Ibara comes in with some like vine whip attack or something and helps her out. And then she's like, even though I'm not a pro hero yet, I can, still help here. So together they defeat the monster, and then, yeah, I think this one's a little bit, maybe even too easy, especially compared to the last one we did. But after they defeat the villain together, you could draw it out, maybe have them go their separate ways, but then meet up again, and when Makoto isn't Sailor Jupiter and she's just in a regular civilian identity, but they connect this as civilians again, and then like her secret identity gets revealed or something. You could do something like that. I think the easiest route to go, in the most direct way, if you were wanting to do a comic that jumps into the action part quickly, is they defeat the villain relatively easily, and then maybe Makoto accidentally got like hurt. She's got like a big cut on her leg or something. And Ibara, we don't know a lot about her personality, but she's like soft-spoken and very kind and kind of religious a little bit. I don't know if she's like how religious she's meant to be, but she has like sort of a holy aspect to the way she's presented in the anime, at least. So I could see her also having like sort of a medical inclination. I don't know if her quirk with her vine hair would allow her to do any kind of like herbal medicinal stuff, but maybe she just has enough passing knowledge of medicine that she's like able to help bandage up the cut on Sailor Jupiter's leg. But it's like a sentiment moment, and where because she's like down there like messing around with her leg, and Sailor Jupiter's got these long sexy legs and this like tiny little skirt. Maybe Ibara even accidentally sees up her skirt and like blushes and looks away, and then they share this like look between their eyes, and they lean in and kiss, and you can go from there. And like from that point, it's pretty easy. So yeah, that's a easier pairing to pull off, I think, than some of them we've done. But that it is what it is. I think that would work well for those two. And I like that pairing too, because they both have like a real heavy green aesthetic to their design. So you could do something with that. You could even do some kind of pun with the word green in the title of the comic if you were going to do that pairing. So there we go. I hope you guys had fun with this episode. I hope I wasn't too rambly. I'm going to try and think of some topics for future episodes that aren't just me explaining my work to you, because like I don't think I shared a whole lot of brand new information here. But maybe I can find something more interesting to talk about in a future episode. But hopefully you had fun anyway. I like talking about my work a lot. It's not that I think it needs to be explained. I just like talking about it. So hopefully you liked listening. And if you did, I'm glad. And come back in a couple weeks. There'll be a new episode. I'm going to try to do them every other week. That's my plan for now. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.